Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues episode 130. The state's trying to bully North Clarendon, which is just south of here, over a project actually. Apparently what they're claiming is, they were building sort of a ball area, like ball playing park. And they filled in what the state is calling a wetland, about a half an acre. Now, a half an acre is not substantial in size. That's not really a wetland, that's sort of a wet, soggy patch. And the town of Clarendon is saying, well, that's because it's artificial. It was a drainage ditch that we filled in. It has nothing to do with a swamp or anything. The state's like, no, it's a wetland. Now, I'm going to side with Clarendon preemptively on this because they're almost certainly right. Think of it this way. The state of Vermont is extremely legalistic. You know that if you watch this series. Lots of paperwork to be filed if you want to basically do anything on your own land, let alone if a town is trying to do something, there's even more of a legalistic process than if you try to build something on your own land. The number of pieces of paper, and there'll be people coming in and surveying, making sure everything's fine. If it's in an area where they've ever found so much as an arrowhead, they're going to do like archaeological excavations, like they do that in Burlington all the time. There are professors at UVM who half their work in the field consists of getting consulted because somebody found a piece of bone and it might be some holy relic from some tribe from hundreds of years ago. So don't fucking try to tell me that the state went in there and didn't realize that it was a drainage ditch. They couldn't have possibly, if there was a half acre of swamp in the area to be filled in, with fill from apparently an airport project, there's no way the state would have missed it. They would have known, and there's no way that the town of Clarendon would have said, you know what, we think that we're going to screw the state, we're going to ignore the state laws and just play dumb and fill it in anyway. Sorry, that doesn't really happen. I'm going to assume that probably the state is incorrect when it comes to this subject. I think what happened is that somebody, who took pictures at the site, here's probably what happened. They took pictures, the state came in, had an agent go into the field and take pictures, make sure everything's fine. All the state agencies can gawk at the pictures, say, oh, well, it looks like this might be a threatened species over in this corner, so you can't build it until we send in a whole ecological expedition. They're going to be tramping around in there with, elephant guns and pith helmets and everything. That's probably what they would do. They took pictures. Some state bureaucrat at some managerial level saw a picture of the drainage ditch, thought it looked like a swamp, something clicked in their head, and they said, oh, no, put the project on hold. Well, the project was built, a while ago. Oh, shit, well, they probably violated state ordinances against draining wetlands. It's just a drainage ditch, that's the point. It's almost certain that the town of Clarendon is correct on this one. I'm going to make the wild assumption that a town like Clarendon, it's not a high population. It's not like Burlington. If Burlington decided, hey, we're going to skirt some state ordinance, they might have the lawyers and the money to get away with it. This is Clarendon we're talking about. For anybody who hasn't been down there, if you think that Rutland looks like, it's sort of a small farming town of sorts. We call it a small city. You would call it, basically bumpkin land. But by our standards, Rutland's pretty awesome. But by out-of-state standards, like, hey, I'm from New York City. Where's the town that you're talking about? All I see are a few homes. I would assume that Clarendon, which is half small residential structures, not really a developed area. I actually went to high school at Mill River, which is down in Clarendon. I'm going to assume that they don't think, well, we have such big balls. We have so much money. The state doesn't, this legalism doesn't apply to us. Fuck this little wetland. And a half acre, I'm sorry, but if a slightly muddy, soggy patch of kind of rushy grasses, half an acre in size, is sitting in the middle of a field, that does not, in my mind, constitute an important critical habitat. It constitutes to me an oversized puddle. Look, there's a piece of land one of our neighbors. Well, not technically a neighbor, it's outside of the, the general neighborhood, but not very far. Down the road, there's a person who owns a house there, and their field has like a depression, and you get a couple heavy rains, it fills right up. You'll see ducks floating around on it. Does that mean that that constitutes, while it is wet, a wetland that they cannot do anything with? Or is it just something it's soggy, it's poorly drained, it's a depression within the earth? That periodically gets kind of full of water, maybe half a foot of it. Maybe if it's really, really floody, maybe they get 2 feet and it takes a month to dry up totally. But does that mean that it's a critical habitat for some sort of insect? Or, oh, this is a duck landing zone. You cannot build here unless it is duck friendly. You know, you can build a feed dispenser. Has our state government been co-opted by ducks that are just wearing human flesh suits and they're like aliens from outer space? Oh yeah, we're gonna keep everything swampy. This is gonna be great. More corn for us. Yeah, we'll let you drain off some land so you can grow the corn, constantly feed us. Everything else will be just duck landing zones. Half an acre swamp. I wish I had a half-acre wetland. That'd be cool. I could grow like, you know, lilies and shit in it. I could have all sorts of swampy plants. You know, stuff you can't really grow, and you know, the dryer, so you'd have to inundate it, have like a fountain or a koi fish pond. It's difficult in this climate anyway. Yeah, but I'm sorry, they're claiming it's a drainage ditch. I'm gonna assume that they're probably right. It's just a low-lying part of the ground that gets soggy and has a few rushes in it. That doesn't make it a wetland. Maybe it's periodically wetland-y, but it's not exactly a swamp. It's not like the swamps that are behind my fucking house. That area is getting fiddled around with by the electric company, by the water company all the time. Those are obviously wetlands. Like there's a few acres of solid swamp, and then there's another patch of swamp immediately to the west. There are several more patches up further into the hills. And there's, on the other side of the Sanborn place sort of hills, is a whole stretch of wetlands. But yet they build and do all sorts of stuff there. They cut wood, and they cut in roads. People are developing chunks of that area. This seems like a double standard to me. Why can't they build their ball field? Because of a drainage ditch. Yeah, I think bullshit. That's about all. Peace out.